If I would have done this land training, I would have probably avoided my injury. Stick until the end, because I'm not only going to reveal to you the best land training, even better than the couch training, but I'm also going to give you a handful of tips that you can implement right now to save your life. Okay, now I'm exaggerating, but really, the more you practice without implementing these tips, the higher the chances for you to get injured. So watch this video. Countless times I mentioned how important it is to practice on land to save time. But did I ever mention how important it is to prevent injuries? I hope you can understand that the land training, especially when you're a beginner, but by the way, we're always beginners because we always have to learn something. But it's so important because it's like twice, 3 times as valuable as the training in the water if you've never done that activity. So ideally you should buy a BOSU ball, but I found this one and honestly it does the job. So why would you spend 100 euros for a BOSU ball if this for 20 bucks does the job? But yeah, you saw me adjusting the board at the beginning because you want the middle of this ball to be where the center of a lift is on your foil when it's in the water. So I know that with the Cyrus, the center of lift is approximately here, where there is this line in between the black and the blue part of the pad. It's pretty forward, I know, but the Cyrus has a lot of lift, and the fuselage is not advanced. Now, especially during the drop start, the reverse start, the inverted start, you name it, you don't want to land with your feet in the spot where you are going to have them during the pump. You want to land in a more stable position. Now, my back foot is usually here when I'm pumping, and my front foot is around here. It moves from the nose until this point, depending on the foil that I'm using and how far I'm going, if I'm going against the current, if I'm going with the current. There are many factors. But I'm not gonna land with my back foot here during the drop start, because most likely I'm gonna sink the board right away. You want to have a wider stance when you land on the board on the drop start or on the inverted start from Yvonne. Why that? Because it's more stable. It's simply more stable, you know, a wider stance. So I'm usually landing with my back foot around here, so exactly on top of the mast where there is a center of lift at that moment. And then as I gain speed, I just move it a little bit more towards the front. Whilst the front one, I try to land it in the exact spot right away. Now, when you're practicing with the ball, it's not really important that you land and you're super stable. It's normal that you're touching with the front part of the board. Why that? Because on the water, ideally, you're gonna have this forward momentum, right? Here you don't have this forward momentum because you're stuck. You cannot move forward. But if when you land on the board goes like this, that's a good sign actually, because it means that you are actually transferring a little bit of your weight. You are transforming a bit of your weight into forward momentum. That's what you want to do if you want to gain speed. So why this training is better than the one on the couch? Simply because it teaches you how to be gentle. You have to be gentle, otherwise you're gonna bounce on the ball and you're gonna fall left, right, or forward or backward. So it really teaches you to be gentle, and that's exactly what you want to do. That's exactly what you have to do in all the starts, not only in the drop start, in the reverse start, but also in the beach start and in the rock start and in the normal dock start. And by the way, I'm just showing you right now this training, which is again the training for the inverted start from Yvonne. But you can basically use this same ball for all the trainings, and I'm gonna show you in a couple of minutes how you can use this same kind of this same setup to practice other starts. So why this training is superior? Why is it useful? Or why should you do it in the first place? Why shouldn't you just go in the water and go right away? Because you're gonna fall and gonna injure yourself. First of all, if you're just getting started, there are simply too many things that you have to think about at the same time. It's such a complex movement. You should instead split it into different steps and practice one step at a time. For example, you should practice the feet placement, okay? You can do it over and over until you land your feet in the same spot consistently. And then you can go in the water and practice the throw. You just throw the board and you make it glide as far as possible. And then, since we are humans, our most comfortable environment is the ground, not the water, right? So it's just easier to learn something on the ground than it is on the water, right? Then if you want to emulate a higher dock, you can just simply place something which is like 20 to 30 centimeters higher than the board and just do the same. Just be careful not to destroy your board and not to destroy yourself, not to explode the ball. But yeah, you should be able to do the same, right? It's a bit harder, of course, to be gentle, but that's the game, you know? That's why you're doing this training. To learn to be gentle. To improve your sensitivity. To improve your feet placement. Now you could use something else so that you're not hitting your board too hard, but what are you gonna do? This is what I have. The first time I tried Yvonne's start, I was pretty inconsistent because the problem was mainly my feet placement and the timing. I was placing my front foot before the back one. Now I'm really practicing to place both feet roughly at the same time. This was a good one. A bit too much pressure on the front foot compared to the back one, but the feet placement was right. And I was pretty gentle. You see? If you do it for 1 hour, I'm not saying that you have to do it for 2 months. I'm saying that if you do it for 1 hour per day for 1 week, you're gonna go to the dock and you're gonna destroy it. You're gonna be so fucking good at it. For what concern where I'm looking, I'm usually looking where my front foot should land. Because I feel like you can better control the front foot than the back one. Especially because usually the front one lands a little bit earlier. This was a bad one because I didn't transfer the weight in front. I just, boom, I landed like a rock. This was a good one as well. You see the movement that I'm doing with my knees? It's kind of like this, you know? Again, to transfer all my weight, my massive weight, into forward momentum. If you notice that the board, after a couple of trials, is pointing a little bit on the left or on the right, that's because you are putting too much pressure on one side than on the other side. So that should be like an alarm to tell you that something is wrong, that you should be more careful where you place the feet in the y-axis. And remember from time to time to check if the board moved, because most likely with the forward momentum that you're giving to the board, it's going forward. So you should place it again in the right spot on the cushion. Unfortunately, I cannot practice the beach start and the dog start the right way because I would risk to open my bones again. But I will do it like slowly, so just for you to understand. So the principle is the same. You just have to place the cushion on top of the couch, then the board again on the cushion, and make sure that the middle of the cushion is approximately on the center of lift of the board, so more or less where the front wing is going to be. And once you have that, you just have to practice the dog start. And again, it's gonna be harder because you have this room, this pitch room. Again, I cannot jump, I cannot do that because if I put pressure on my left hand, I will just stretch my wound, and I don't want that. Otherwise, I will never be able to go into water again. But yeah, essentially, the cool thing is that you can really feel how much pressure you have to put with your backhand and with your front hand when you place the feet. And with the normal couch system, you couldn't do that. You couldn't really understand how much pressure you have to put with the backhand and with the front hand. And that's the key, especially in the beach start, because we realize that in the beach start, you have to put a ton of pressure on the front hand. Because the main thing that I was doing wrong in the beach start was that I was jumping. You don't have to jump in the beach start. You have to make this step. You have to step on the board. You don't have to jump. Because if you jump, you're going to lose all the speed that you gained with the run. And on top of that, it's almost impossible to jump that high. So what you really have to do is to step on the board. So you run, but instead of making one step next to the other, you step with your back foot first on the board. You compensate the pressure with your front hand, and then you lift yourself by helping you with the backhand. Again, I cannot do that, but if you try that, you realize that how much pressure you have to put in the front of the board to not make it pitch up. If, like in my case, the couch is too soft and you disengage the cushion while you step on the board, just try to find a small table which holds you. This is pretty much all what the beach start is about, to step on the board and to compensate your back foot pressure. Ideally, the table should be a bit higher, because I think that now the board is around 60 centimeter above the ground. Yeah, 55, 60. And if you consider my 77 centimeter mast in the water, I have to make this step about 90, 95, 100 centimeter high. So yeah, it's way higher than this. It's gonna be more or less around here. But again, I don't wanna force myself right now. So yeah, this is pretty much how you practice the beach start. You practice this step. The faster you can do it, the better. And you should try not to touch the table with the board. Another cool thing about using this cushion to practice the beach start is that you can understand where to place your hands. Because if I would place this hand right here, for example, I will be unbalanced, right? But if I place it here, I am more balanced. And the same thing, if I place this hand here, I will be unbalanced. I would rotate, I would roll the board on the water, and I don't want that, right? So you can also practice various hand placements. I think that this one is probably the best one, because this way you can just put your front hand like this and keep your back hand in the same spot, basically. And yeah, remember that in the beach start and in the rock start from very low rocks, your knee, your back knee, goes outside, not inside. Sometimes I might do the rock start like this, so I place my back knee inside, in between my hands, but most of the time it's gonna be something like this. What I'm doing, it's not safe at all. I could risk to fall from the third floor, but anyway, I'm not gonna stand up. Okay, no, this is very, very stupid.
But as I said at the beginning of this video, there are other tips that you can implement to prevent injuries. For example, eject. That's so important. I used to do it, then I forgot it. Especially when you're doing these long sessions, you are likely to forget it. But it's so important that if you see that the launch is not a good launch, and you see it because you know it, right after you land on the board, you know if that's gonna be a good launch or a bad launch. And if it's a bad launch, just eject as soon as possible, right away. Don't try to stay on the board, because that's when you fall on the foil like an idiot, like I did, right? Okay, I am a terrible example because I posted like 50 videos and in none of them I wear protections, but don't be like that, please. Just wear an helmet, an impact vest, even just the wetsuit, it helps, really. Even if it's summertime, just buy one of those t-shirts, like cut protective t-shirts, whatever that is. Another fundamental thing that would have probably saved me from that injury is to take breaks. I cannot stress enough how important that is. Really, I think that I was like 1 hour 15 in that session, and I was rocking trial after trial after trial. I think I was like with a pace of 2 or 3 trials per minute. So you make the calculations, but that's a lot of trials without breaks, right? And the thing is that the beach start especially is way physical than the other starts. So especially, for example, in the beach start, you have to take breaks. Also because, you know why? When you're practicing the Dockstart or the dropstart, after you fail, you have to, maybe swim back, come back up on the dock or on the pier or wherever you are. So you rest in between, right? But on the beach start, you just run, fall, walk back, run, fall. So it's like an infinite loop, and you get tired much quickly. So yeah, just be aware of that, especially if you're practicing the beach start. And as I said in the previous video, don't take shortcuts and respect your limits. I'm not saying that you cannot push yourself to your limit. You should, actually, if you really want to improve fast. But reach your limit or slightly before and pull back a bit at a safe level. So yeah, that's that. I'm pretty sure that if you implement each and every of these steps and you practice on land as I explained at the beginning in step 1, you will drastically reduce the risk of injury. But yeah, now don't get scared or demotivated or don't find excuses. Just go out there and pump. I want to say thank you to Kirk for giving me this idea of the land training with the BOSU ball, and thank you to all of you because you demonstrated that you care about me, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm very happy about that. Thank you.